Alright, hello and welcome to Plugin Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. I hear someone has a Twitch stream open on the other computer. Last time on Plugin Along, we continued working on my list of birding plugin ideas. And today I'm going to take advantage of Harvestmath to switch over to Festival Buddy 2 and take a look at the Westmead Wheat Maze and the translations for the In-League Ale Association Quick Guide and whatever else comes up. So as always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions. In the meantime, if you... Oops, sorry. A little mouse mishap there. If you didn't already know it, the far-ranging stable masters in the homesteads will give you a swift travel to the party tree, possibly for free. Maybe it's a silver. 1 silver piece. That seems pretty affordable. So, if you are not a hunter with swift travel to the campsite fire up on top of the hill, you can at least get here quickly using that. Okay, so the Westmead Wheat Maze. Let's go take a look at that. You're not a pony to Westmead. You know, it just occurs to me I did not actually get the daily wrapper. So I'm going to hit the threshold here so I can come on over to Rosa here and grab a couple of quests. Just in case I actually finish any quests. Ooh, there's new stuff this festival. Don't suppose I need to wait for that. What do I care about? Cosmetic pets. Okay, got the rest of them. Steeds. I appear to have those. I guess the new items might be an efficient way to go about this. Spiffy. Let's go ahead and use those. For a Windfell owl. And a ghostly cat. Cool, cool, cool. Now we'll take the pony to Westmead. Okay. So, well, what do we have interest in? We have interest in the Festival Buddy plugin here. And specifically, the quests that have to do with the maze. Challenging wheat and cheat of the wheat. Gathering gourds, preventing a murder. So let's go ahead and look at challenging wheat. So, the way this works currently, and Tellurian pointed out there may be a bug in the code, so we're going to play with this. Currently the way it works is we do not know what maze is currently active on the server. But there's a specific number of versions it can be. So, you are tasked with walking on in. There's always going to be a wall in front of you, but look to your right, and we can see that there is a gap on the left, wall straight. So that limits us down to just 2 and 3. Look to your left, and you can see a gap on the right and a wall on the left. Well, that does actually match up. Oh, but over here we did not see a wall down there, so we must be on maze number 2. So this is the map for today's maze. The point Tellurian brought up was perhaps that the time of day that switches over to the next one may be off. But let's go ahead and just test that we have done this correctly. We're going to pick up challenging wheat. Alright, so do not cheat. No going through the cheating passages. But this should be pretty straightforward. And in fact, we have enabled putting our cursor on the map using the /LSE. Which I find makes it even easier to keep track of where I am. I'm not actually revealing if there's how much time is left on the quest because I had covered it up. We'll put it somewhere else now. And you can see there's not a lot of wiggle room. We've run this pretty efficiently, and we're getting to the exit with about 10 seconds to spare, maybe 15. So you really do need to know the path that you're running. You get maybe 1 or 2 false starts, and that's it. More than that, and you're just not going to have enough time to complete it. But we did complete it. Good job, us. So that's Tanglecorn map number 2. Good point. Delirium points out that the Festival Buddy is not currently parsing non-English slash LOC. What's slash PO? Slash position. Nope, okay. That does not work well on German clients as well. Great point. Let me add that to the list of things we're going to look at today. I appreciate you double checking all the language stuff, Delirium. Okay, so that was challenging wheat. Good job, us. And of course, if we did cheat of the wheat, we would have a different path that goes through the cheating spots. And again, there's not a lot of wiggle room here. So if you don't know the path that you're going to run through, you're going to have problems. There we go. Okay, it's somewhere around here. There we go. And we can see I've been bouncing around a little bit too much. I might not even make it here. Time's up, failed cheat of the wheat, it says in the quest log. That's unfortunate. Yeah, I was a little imprecise in my wanderings. Sometimes I wish I had a hunter nearby so I could go faster. Okay, but as we can see, in the English client, the positioning arrow works fine. We'll look at the rest of it because I know plugins like Waypoint have a system for that. And then let's look at the timing. Okay, so what does the plugin do to rotate? Let's close some stuff here. What does the plugin do to rotate that map? Harvestmath maze ID win. Oh, that's the maze ID win. Maze map win. All right. So, Tillerian reported earlier, you're using a function to determine if the maze has changed, but between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., or really 10 and 16, it displays the wrong maze map. It is the next map, not the last map. What a great question. This is probably not doing this correctly then. If anyone knows in chat specifically or has a link to someone on, say, the forums telling us when those maps change to the next one, that would be very handy. LOTRO harvest list need wheat maze reset time. Let's see what people seem to think. All right, definitely some 10 a.m. out there. All right, and Tellurian is also thinking 10 a.m. Eastern time. So yeah, Tellurian says 10 a.m. server time. That's actually a good point because I don't know what that means for Mordor. Okay. Let's get some information about what's being written out here. So, turbine.shell.writeLine now, and then we'll go ahead and dump out now. So we're going to come on into our options here. We're going to go ahead. That's funny. Didn't I have a reload? Ah, well. Okay, so we can see now we're getting an hour of 20, second of 44. And that's unfortunate because we would very much like to have the server time, not the local time. Now, there is a /server time command, as well as the /time command. So we can see those, but what does the API give us? Let's go on over to the API documentation and see what we can see about such things. Engine. Get date. Great. Get local time? No, I don't like that. Okay, how does something like Titan bar do this? Because Titan bar asks for the offset, doesn't it? I think it might. Let's take a look at that. And do we already have such a thing? We do not. Okay, let's go take a look at Titan bar just to be sure. We're going to use the LOTRO Plugin Compendium to download that for us. Alright, Titan bar. Cool. So, coming into the plugin manager, remember to hit that green arrow if you change which plugins you have installed, and we'll load up Titan bar. I would like to know what is taking it so long to load. Okay, so time. That is giving us 8:13. Okay. Let's show it in 24-hour time. Show the real and the server time. And server time. Why are you asking for it in GMT? GMT is a time zone, not a reference. I think you mean UTC. And I think you're probably also accepting whole numbers, which is probably correct for Germany, France, and the United States, but is a mistaken policy. Delirian correctly asks, can you implement a button that will issue a /time or /server time or their equivalents in other languages and read the response from chat? Absolutely. And that might be the right way to do it because, and I don't think we need the /time because we're getting that value here, hour 20, minute 44. We can see that that is, hour 20, minute 11, which is now 14. We can see what the local time is through plugin mechanics. Through the API, we can say what time is it now according to the computer that I'm on. What we need is the /server time. And absolutely, what we should be doing is detecting the server's offset. Now, someone who did this pretty well was Thurlor. I wonder if the reminders plugin includes that kind of an affordance. So we're going to go ahead and pop that up. Come on in, reminders, load. We don't know what server you're on. Let's detect that. Cool. And we got an error message here. Excellent. I love getting error messages with line numbers on it. We're going to go ahead and save that off. And then reminders. Let's go look at our settings. Thank you. Aha, detect. Alias server time. So what we can see is reminders does that exact same thing, and it can tell that the offset that we are +6. Now again, it's probably assuming a whole number of hours off of Eastern U.S. time. Daylight time in general is more complicated than that, but that is a reasonable assumption for the three primary countries for the languages, French, German, and English. But there are plenty of places, or enough places, that don't do whole hour offsets for daylight savings times, or just have other interesting time oddities. So assuming that it's a whole number will get you into trouble if you're writing mission critical software for a plugin. No biggie. It's nice to get it right, but don't don't work super hard at this one specific thing if you don't have anyone who's going to take advantage of it. Let's go take a look at how Reminders is doing the detect. So we're going to go ahead and open up Visual Studio Code, and we will. Let me put it over here for a sec. We're going to open a folder that's going to be in Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, Plugins, Thorolore, Reminders. Great. And what we want to do is search for that offset. Offset plus minus hours. And we can see that's in locale. So definitely supporting multiple languages here. Thorolore had pretty good on that. M in chat asks a question. Does the weapon's damage matter for skills of a spellcaster class like Lore Master, Arcane, and Mini? So I play a Minstrel, and we can take a look at this weapon right here. So the weapon damage, the 104 DPS, I'm pretty sure only comes into play when you're actually stabbing an enemy with it, or slashing, whatever. You're attacking an enemy with it. The things that will impact your outgoing damage, you'll want to look at, say, the tooltips for tactical mastery. Whoops, where'd it go? Oh, you can't tear that one off? That makes me sad. Okay, so increase the damage of your tactical attacks against equivalent leveled enemies by this much, and then it'll scale down if they are higher level. Or your critical rating, your will be adding points to these other things that can affect like your tactical mastery. So that would be the thing I would be looking for is things that affect your tactical attacks, your tactical damage. Whereas this is probably, I'm no expert on the subject, but I would assume that this is only physical damage that is applied when you attack someone with that weapon. But that being said, most your legendary item weapons are probably going to include a lot of modifiers to things like your will and your tactical mastery rating and your critical rating. So your legendary weapon, if you are at least level 45 and you've gone through and getting your legendary weapon, is super important, not because of the damage on it, but because of all the other things that come with it. In this case, lots of will, lots of tactical mastery rating. The base damage that a power does, and here, let's go ahead and dequip this. When I look at my minor ballad, we can see it has a damage range of 430 to 614. And when I equip this weapon, that changes to a range of 2371 to 3387. And boy howdy, if you accidentally leave your birding kit on and then you go and start fighting stuff, you will notice that difference. And this is coming because of those changes to will and tactical mastery. And similarly, for your physical classes, all of your skills are going to have some sort of base damage, and you're going to have physical mastery, which is going to increase that. So I suspect the physical weaponry comes into play to some extent, the damage on that weapon, in a way that I don't fully understand. But I don't think this damage matters if you're not physically attacking someone with that implement. I think it's everything else going on. But if anyone else in chat has more insight on the physical aspect of things, I know people like having weapons with more damage for that reason, but ultimately, once you reach level 45 and you start engaging with the legendary item side of gameplay, you're going to find that you probably do not care about the damage number. You care about everything else going on, for the most part. And you would probably not want to give up all this other stuff if you found a weapon that by itself does more damage, because you are giving up all this other stuff, which is helping with that damage. Physical mastery, critical rating, finesse, your might, or what does fate do? Oh, no. Your might or your agility is going to come into play for those physical classes as well. So Emma asks, so does it matter to the agility and might classes? I'm sure it matters to some amount. Like, your weapon damage is probably coming into play for those skills, but I think, yeah, all that other stuff matters a lot more. If you're below level 45, if you're still using non-legendary item weapons, then it's kind of a toss-up between doing a little bit more damage or having increases to those stats. Sometimes I'll break out a spreadsheet or a calculator and kind of say, okay, this thing is increasing my will, and increasing to my will increases tactical mastery rating, and when I increase my tactical mastery rating, this thing goes up. And try to sort out, convince myself which path is better for my character. It's part of why I have a bunch of equipment in my inventory, because we're going through Eastern Gondor and we're finding stuff that is not necessarily compelling. Like, yeah, this item level is 195 to my 176, but is it better? I haven't really decided that in my head, so it's sitting and waiting. Awesome. Egg Arthur says many melee skills scale from your main hand damage. Others will take into account your main hand and offhand damage if dual wielding. Awesome. So it sounds like those definitely are more relevant to you if you are using them in combat instead of just using them as a base for other things. My Book of Songs doesn't even have any damage to start with, but it's a nice book. Well, cool. Thanks for the question. Hopefully that was some level of helpful. Okay, so what we want to do is possibly lift wholesale some of the ideas in reminders so we can auto-detect this. But what we want to do is, well, that's a nice way to do it. Let's come look at where this is being used. Whole words only, please. And this is in the options panel. That makes sense. Really? Ah, the other options panel. Great. Okay, so this is here. And we are looking at a button, which is a trick button, which is interesting because that is a thing that we need. We need a button that's going to hide the fact that it's really an alias underneath it. So it looks like Thurlor might have encapsulated that idea, because this is a trick button that is doing the server time command. Let's see. Standard and server time detect. Interesting. I might want to borrow that Thurlor. There's set text. Set width. That's interesting. So I'm just looking at what this click handler does. So he's taking arbitrary number of parameters plus the control and passing them on to the self-detect time zone. But I'm wondering what's generating this click in the first place. All right, I am now very curious what this UI trick button is. button that executes a check command when the user clicks it and observes the results. So what is the command that's going to be executed? Where do we expect the result to be received? And how do you recognize that the result happened? Sorry, I'm watching a cat just begging for fish. It's over there. Yeah. Or the remnants of it on a plate. When the button is clicked, the capture result will be passed via a click event. Fantastic. So this is a turbine.ui.control, not by itself a button. And this is going to have a button within it. We save off the default color and disabled color. That's interesting. I'm not sure why we do that yet. Interesting. So we're destroying the quick slot controls if the thing is disabled. Because disabling the button still leaves the quick slot there. Yeah, okay. And we're handling rollover stuff. Agatha says, the trick terminology confused me also when rummaging around reminders code. Yeah, it's interesting because what would you name it besides that? Like, naming things is hard, definitely. Okay. Button that executes the chat command when the user clicks it and observes the result. Like, it's a combination shortcut button. Okay. Oh, nice. Great. An array of quick slots each on the 2 pixels high so they'll be invisible. Oh. Oh, that's interesting. Does that mean... So there's actually a bunch of different ones here, and that's how he's avoiding the sort of the lumps of the quick slot. That's interesting if that's how that works. Okay, so reload quick slots, width and height. So we have the self-talk command, we're creating the alias. I wonder if you can set a background. UI at LOTRO quick slot. Sure, set back color. So set back color. Now, the problem is we need more like random numbers. So one times 10 plus cat is being funny. I think that's too big, but we'll see that in a moment. Oh, that is frightening.
Okay. So, yes, the height of each of these is
only so tall. But the width of it is however wide we want to, because the top 2 pixels are apparently not going to bleed through. So we can see that this one is different from this one, which is different from that one, all the way down. So we have just these 2 pixel wide things, but they all have the same alias. So you're going to have the effect that as you roll over it, the tooltip is going to go back and forth and go back and forth. Now, I'm curious if I go ahead and drag something on there. Yep, we can see it. So those are still aliased whatever, and that's the robo of the 5 eyes that I've drag over there. It does have the side effect, meaning that if you accidentally drag and drop something on there, you might not even realize, because the rest of them are still going to have their original shortcut. Fascinating. What a neat, interesting way to resolve the problem of the shortcut bleeding through. Nicely done. Okay, so that being said, we rebuild the quick slots when we change the size. Awesome. Setting enabled, setting width, setting height, mouse down. So mouse enter. We re-add the callback for received. Why do we do that? I don't know. Thor probably had a reason to do that. It's funny that they say without the expected hover delay, but then we do have a hover time over here. Okay, do callbacks, mouse hover. Okay. Mouse leave. I wonder if this is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Because I feel like that would be relative to wherever we are on the namespace, which would already be in common UI. Okay. What else is going on here? The quick slots. Is a control probably holding all of those other ones? Cool. Hover time equals that. Awesome. Does that sound about that right? 1,000. Yeah, okay. And chat received. If we have a regex and if the chat type equals that channel. Yeah, if the chat type that we're getting equals the one we're expecting, then we do the string match. If it matches, then we do a click. Oh, I see. And we're unpacking the matches in that click handler. Okay. So that brings us back to, oh, not that. Oh, I closed it. That was silly of me. Offset. So that brings us back to here, where we have a button, a click handler, where we set text with the detect time zone. Let's take a look at that. And we're taking a number of parameters, so we're going to get the server month, day, hour, minute, AM, and PM. Is that reasonable? / server time. Yeah. So month, day, hour, minute, AM, PM. Yes. And then we do go ahead and swap those around. Or coerce them to numbers either way. Okay, because they were parsed as strings. Neat. And then we go ahead and modulo it for 12, apparently. Wait. Two numbers, server hour, modulo 12. Two numbers, server minute. Oh, interesting. Maybe? I'm not sure I understand why the module 12 is there. Anyhow, we use getDate to get that same information, and then we can detect how much time is between. What an interesting claim. All time zone offsets in the world are multiples of 15 minutes. Is that a true claim? Doesn't matter. I'm curious if that's true. Wikipedia says that's by convention. Alright, well, close enough to true again for this audience. Why not? Okay, and obviously it works for the trivial case of being in Central European time zone. Now, I always feel a little awkward about just lifting code wholesale, even if it's from another plugin author. So I would at least definitely want to credit Thurlor for that. That's so weird. Okay, well now I understand why it's doing that. Okay, going in to Festival Buddy. Let us think about the options. This is a server setting. Is it a server setting? It would almost have to be because of Mordor. I'm actually kind of curious. Does anyone know if Mordor still has a wonky time offset where it's set to like Pacific time instead of European time? I got this as the Nazgul test on Bulwer is concluding. It seems Vastin has a long bug list to work on. Agartha thinks they normalized Mordor. That would be nice. Agartha, was that the new portal mechanic, or are they still? Is that still forthcoming? Awesome. Agatha confirms that's the instance/portal and that they previewed the Gloom of Nirn. Fantastic. I look forward to getting that title as well someday. Canazio says, hi, servers that are in Europe and cost nothing are nice and have a graphic improvement. I believe that would be a true statement. At the moment, there's only one LOTRO server in Europe that I know of, and that is Mordor. And if I were to speculate, I am not an SSG employee and I have no insider information, but if I were to speculate, I would guess that similar to landscape difficulty, the Europe serverness of Mordor is a way for them to test whether they want the extra difficulty of supporting a machine that's physically located far away from them, if it's a strong enough appeal for the community to be worthwhile, and that if that goes well, over time, they might introduce more servers. They have not agreed to do this or promised to do this or anything like that, but that would be consistent with other things they've done on Legendary servers, which is try something out on sort of a probationary period, see how it works, and then decide whether or not to go forward with doing more of that. Just like with the 64-bit server code that is live on Angmar and Mordor, it is, I think, actually one of their stated goals is that if all goes well on those servers with this code, that they'll be able to roll that out to the entire fleet of servers. And that might be something they'll do with Europe-located servers as well, is if that goes well, if it's not a support nightmare, and if there's a monetary incentive to do so, they might do more also. So hopefully that helps you understand why currently there's only one server that's located in Europe, but that is an improvement over the 0 that was previously, and might point towards a trend of having more servers there as well if things go well, if things go smoothly. Okay, so if we wanted to borrow what Reminders is doing for Festival Buddy, we're looking at hoisting the offset plus minus hours section here, though really this whole section on the right, and placing it somewhere in our options screen as well. It might as well be the first thing in there, although it's really kind of tied towards the Westmead maze. And Tellurian, if you did not already know it, I think there is this option to change which maze you are working on. So until I push out a fix for the time zone issue, you can at least manually change the maze. Okay. Let's take a look at the options window. When we add an option, we need to know how to. So it says they found that option, but it is a bit annoying to change back and forth. Absolutely. You might also have just gone into the code and changed the thing that says get previous hour 10 and just changed the math under there. In fact, let's see. There's a lot of 10. Yeah, if all of these were, 16 instead of 10, it would probably just work until we fix that. In fact, that's probably what we're going to do, is we'll change the 10 to the server reset hour, and then we'll be adding or subtracting the offset to get the local reset hour. Yeah, I think I'd want to be renaming these from 10 to like reset time, something like that. Okay, let me make a note of that. Okay. Now, one thing I didn't check was how are our local changes. Okay, good. We have a very clean working directory. All right, let's go into our options window and sort out what's going on in the options window. We have escape key closes window. Awesome. Draw generic options. What else are we doing? Quick guide options. Okay. Map options. That is technically a map option, but it feels more generic than that. It feels like we could use that in other places eventually. So we're gonna call this a generic option. Okay, so we have the escape key closes window, main window scaling, and then time zone offset. So local time offset from server time. So local stuff and things. Let's go borrow heavily. In fact, let's go into our README and document that we're doing this. Incorporated code from Thorolor's reminders for detect the server offset. Awesome. Thank you, Thorolor. So we're going to move one of these code windows up there, and the other one's down here. And in the options panel, that's an interesting way to do concatenation. Very cute. Okay, Thurler obviously has some helper functions like add label. I'm not sure that we have that here, and now is not the time to do that kind of thing. But we want to go ahead and borrow these phrases. And we're going to go look at our strings. Okay, this is, what is local time offset? Now, the convention in Festival Buddy is all caps with underscores, and that's fine. Okay, so we borrowed that string for the label. So let's go ahead and get a label onto the screen. Time offset label equals turbine.ui.lotro.label. No, sorry, just turbine.ui.label. Time offset label, we're going to set that parent as the first thing into the options window. And then we are going to set the text to get string of a lang dot options dot. There does seem to be some noise from up there. Maybe there's a cat walking on our ceiling. Okay. The width of this can probably just be the width of the screen, really. But we see other things, so set size 400, that's fine. Time offset label, set position, we'll indent it by 10, we'll set it down to Y. We'll remember to, yeah, we do have Y equals Y plus 20, 30. What else? That might be it for right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. That's not going to work. Okay, attempt to index field options. That's line 36. What did I type wrong? Yep, case sensitive. Okay. What is your local time difference from server? Okay, we can see that the sizing isn't quite right there. What happens if it's a multi-line label? Is that actually 400 wide? 500. The options panel is 500 wide, it would appear. Man, it's been too long since I've just been adding basic labels. What am I missing? Alright, add label. Set multi-line, cool. Font, for color, text alignment. Setting the multi-line true before setting the text probably matters. I've seen that in other places. Nope, it didn't matter in this case. What if we shrink this thing? 300. Okay, the thing it was in was not as wide as I thought. Non-debug options is a control. What? And that size is 350. Why? Not sure. But actually, what I should have done is should have just gotten the width from options. So we're going to go ahead and parameterize that, set up the indent as a parameter, and then set the size of these things equal to that minus the indent times 2, because we want it to be slightly indented from both sides. And that's just going to be local control width equals that. And we're going to go ahead and use that as the set size parameter instead. Okay. And then set size, not 300. There we go. Let's give that a shot. That, I realize, is not going to work until we set the size. Set width to 350. And then we can set the height to Y. Let's try that. There we go. Okay. Now we have a slightly more correct way of doing this. So, what is your local time difference from server time? Great. All right, let's look at the next thing that we're going to borrow. Okay, we need the local time offset. That needs to be a setting. So let's go into our settings and add that. We're going to put that into default, I think. Server or account. If all the servers are currently the same time zone, and if Mordor has been fixed, then we could say this as an account setting. But the fact that they did bring out a server that had an incorrect time zone, at least for a little while. I say incorrect. The fact that they brought out a server that had a different server time offset than was expected is definitely possible. But is it their intent to keep running them with the same server time? I would have actually kind of expected them to put the server time of Mordor in Western Europe so that 3 a.m. is actually 3 a.m. Does anyone know if they did that? I guess I could go find out. To Mordor. So I'm going to get booted off of the other login. That's okay. Okay. That moment when you're like, am I hearing a child or a cat outside? Okay, so here we are over on the Mordor server. Population 184 non-anonymous people running around. Let's go ahead and grab my daily gift. So we have a plugins tab. We're going to go ahead and change filters to include error and standard. That's probably enough right now. If I do /time, I get the current time on your machine is this. If I do /server time, I get something like 6 hours earlier. Arthur says, I think they want to have the same server time everywhere, otherwise reset cycles could get a little confusing for users. At first, they didn't even know if they could fix Mortar, but they did, so it seems it's a priority to them. Yeah, but to me, Mortar server time offset was broken not because it was Pacific time, but because it wasn't, Western Europe time or Eastern U.S. time. The fact that it's one of those things now is nice, but it is confusing. I mean, yes, if you have players who have been here for years, the server reset time is just 3 o'clock Eastern U.S. time, and maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, but whatever the intent was of having it be 3 a.m. Eastern time doesn't feel like it's being served by having it be 9 a.m. here time. In fact, I did something this morning on an account. I got the server gift when I logged in. I logged in at 8:30, and I came back later that day, and the server gift was there. And I was like, I am having deja vu. I already got that today. So there is a level of convenience, actually, because sometimes I can get up and do something before the server reset. Maybe consume some blue bar on the experience, or do something, and then an hour later do it again. But that doesn't feel like that was the intent of a 3 a.m. reset. That felt like the intent was that is after a reasonable bedtime for most people in the eastern part of the U.S. and even on the western part of the U.S. You're still late in the evening, but it's before any kind of reasonable getting up if you are part of a day shift style of operation. So I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I'm a little confused, but at least it's consistent. All right, cool. So I've been booted because I logged into World Mortar. Well, fair enough. I was actually trying to get to the code. So we have some account settings. And so we could go ahead and add this as an account setting. So we only have to set it once, and then it just applies for all of them. And then if it ever is the case that servers have different values extended through a long enough period of time, we can fix it. We can move that into a server setting instead of an account setting. But for now, let's go ahead and save that. Local time offset. That sounds like a great name. Local time offset equals 0. Oops. Do you need that in quotes? It's funny that I got the relaying that they weren't sure they'd be able to fix the server offset. It feels like it shouldn't be a problem to fix, and obviously it wasn't a problem to fix. I'm not sure what they would be concerned about as far as could they fix it. Fascinating. Anyway, okay. So we have a local time offset. We're defaulting to 0. That is, your local time is the same as service time. That's just sort of the assumed default everywhere. And then we'll be able to change it from there. Cool. So we have that. Okay, nothing too weird there. We're going to go ahead and grab that value up here. Local time offset equals settings account, and this is going to be in local time offset. That is all. Okay, that's cute. Local display, local time offset display equals. Why is it plus or nothing? Why is it not negative? If I put in -6 here, Right, because the minus comes for free in the formatting. It's only for the plus. Okay, fair enough. Alright, that would be my starting attempt to code it. How does he actually do it? Yeah, all those parentheses are necessary. Alright, good to know. The toString's interesting. It feels like it'll be pretty automatically included here. I guess we'll see if that's a mistake. So, once we have loaded the offset and we've formatted it to include that plus, if we want to show the plus, we now want to have a label and a text box. And the fake button. All right, so for a label and text box, they've got a thing where they are doing a left label, the text box, a right label, a callback. The size changed. Fascinating. I think that kind of a thing is neat if you've got a lot of stuff to add and you want to be consistent. But we're going to go ahead and just make our label and our box manually. It might be that that's how they're doing the centering effect more consistently. But we're not centering over on the on this one, so that's okay. So local let's go ahead and rename time offset label to time offset section label. Oops. Great. Let's go ahead and have a time offset label. And we are going to be doing some very similar things to the previous label. So set parent, set size, and that's going to be, is it control width? It's not control width because we need other things there as well. Let's start with 100 and see how that goes. Time offset label, set position, and we know we want that to be indent and wide. We don't need to set the background color anymore. Don't need it to be multiline. Set text. Again, we're going to go ahead and get the string, and that is going to be a thing. So we want the offset hours, locale. What is going on here? Okay, so we're interested in hoisting those as well. Let's come into string offset hours Oh, nice. Sugosi has relayed that Cordovan wrote this on the forum. We have considered putting Mordor onto Central European time, but there are reasons for us to be consistent in terms of server time. So we've opted to align it all to Eastern like we had historically been doing. All right. So looking at that, the 3 a.m. reset time, I've always looked at it from a player's perspective, which is this is a reasonable. You have to do it somewhere. This is sort of the end of the day for questing and the start of the new day for questing. So from a player perspective, it's just a transition where, okay, anything you've done, any daily thing that you've done up until now, you can now do it again. And you might as well put it in the middle of the night where theoretically a lot of your audience is asleep. It's entirely possible that there are there's an SSG perspective to looking at it that includes factors that I'm not taking into account. But if it's just from a player perspective, I don't understand why that choice was made. If it was from some combination of player and SSG perspective where there's some benefit on their end besides support, and reducing support hours is always a concern of theirs. Because anytime you're waiting on support to fix something, that's frustration for a player and it's frustration for the company. But reducing support hours could be a part of it. Maybe there's something else in there that I'm not thinking of. But as far as your questing ends at 9 a.m. And the new day's questing begins at 9 a.m. and the old one ends at 8:59. I'm not sure I follow the logic on that. But most of the time I am doing the bulk of my LOTRO playing after 9 a.m., so it does accomplish the same purpose for me. So I don't really have anything against it specifically other than it seems a little weird from a player perspective. But I appreciate consistency is good for clear communication. All right, offset hours. So we're coming on in. We're going to go ahead and get our offset hours in here. And let's come, actually we will do a time set offset label, set back color, turbine.ui dot dark, color dot dark, slate blue. And we'll come in and take a look at that. Okay, we can see that's not quite wide enough for our purposes, and much too tall for our purposes, so we can fix both of those in one go. Actually, do we need to fix the height at all? Probably not. Okay, yeah, we can see, we could probably just set the width on that. Oh, that's funny. The default height is even taller. All right. Good enough. So offset hours. Great. From there, we're going to go ahead and put in a text box. And that's what we'll load this into. We'll also allow users to type it in manually, and then we can add in the detect button. Okay, so we want a local text box. And we'll go ahead and do some basics here. Set parent, set size. Not actually sure. Let's start out with like, actually, can we get inspired by this one? Text box. Panel top width. So that's the third one. All right, 60. What was the height though? Height of 22. That's very specific. Let's see how it works for us, since we're not setting the font to anything specific. In fact, let's just set the width for right now. Okay. We also have the position. Set position. We already know we want it to be just to the right of this label, so we can set the position to indent plus time offset label, get width, and we're also putting this on Y, though we might want to shift that up or down a little bit. And then time offset text box, set text, and that's going to be the local time offset display that we already calculated. Cool. We can see that's foolishly large. Okay, and that's just a little bit too small. So we're going to go ahead and try out 25. Okay, that's fine, except we can see the box is not really centered vertically. And that seems like a neat thing to do. So, what do we want to do? Now, the label itself, if this was the same height, we could just use the text alignment feature. And that seems like the easiest thing to do. So, time offset label, set text alignment. That's going to turbine.ui.text, no, UI.align. Content alignment, and that is going to be middle left. There we go. So that looks pretty good. The only thing I would say is that the offset could be narrower, but we are contemplating this in 3 different languages. And in German, it's going to be larger. So if we come in here and set the German version, we can see it's actually not quite wide enough for our purposes. Now we can do 2 different things. We can set a custom width for each language, can do. Or in this case, we can just make it a little bit wider so that it works in each of the languages. And it'll just have a little extra room for the other languages. Okay, so 180 is okay. And then back to strings, put that back. Okay, so coming back in, we're going to go ahead and get rid of that background color. And one thing we need is to know when that value has changed. And that's going to be text changed, I think. Let's go ahead and do that. Equals function sender args, And we're just going to go ahead and see turbine.shell.writeLine. And that's going to be we're going to go ahead and get the text out. And we'll start it with quotes just so we can more obviously see any weirdness going on. Okay, so that is not going to be great for us because we need to know when they're done typing. First of all, we need that to not be a multi-line text box. Super easy mistake to make. Set multi-line false. Alright, focus lost. We want focus lost instead, maybe. Let's take a look at that. Okay, offset. So, +6 tab. Tab's not working. What about enter? No, but I'm curious how reminders handles this. +4 tab. That's interesting. What is he doing that makes it stop blinking if you hover over what? I don't know. Fascinating. However, don't need to dig into that right now. I think we can make this smart enough for our purposes by just accepting a few keyboard inputs as well. So we're going to go ahead and text box key up equals function. And for this, if args.action equals, actually I'm not even sure what we're looking for yet. So turbine.shell.writeLine and args.action, args.action. Let's take a look at that. So, can we do tab or enter? Those are not being seen. Okay. What about key down? Tellurian's asking a question about, I think, the in-league ill association. So let's pull that out for a moment. Nah, we'll do it all in one. So Tillian is asking is turn into, collect from language, take from language specific, take from language specific, or where are those defined? Yeah, these are all linked in with the coloring options. And so that's, if we come in the Guild Association and go to the quick guide. So what we're looking at is, I wanted a way, when I was looking at this wall of text, this is what it looked like before I did this. It's just a wall of text. I wanted to have a sense of, is this supposed to be a quest name? Is this supposed to be, a person? What? So what we do is there are settings for colors for location, quest, NPC, or quest item. So we can see the location in Thorin's Hall Inn. That's red, it's a location. Take quest blue, a bit of white, from NPC green, Ale Association Tavern Keep. And we can also see collect fake Thistlebelly Brew, gray quest item from Runolf. So those are all ways to tag something as being color coded by one of those four categories. And so highlight location, Thorin's Hall. Let's take a look at that. In quickguides.lua, and so this is underneath quick guides. This is just, we're highlighting the thing as if it were a location. Okay, and then we're passing that off. Great. What does that mean? Okay, so we're highlighting text with a color setting. So if that color setting is in use, then we are going to go ahead and get that color, wrap it in an RGB tag with the text. And it's funny, this is, we've been playing a lot of Valheim lately, and this is almost the same as how you color text in a sign, although it's kind of opaque there. Okay, so we return that. So we're just wrapping the text in a color. So coming on back to this, we have this thing. So in this location, take this quest from this NPC. And we say, hey, highlight this. And so we're passing something. So if this were in the German, there would be a German version of Thorin's Hall Inn, presumably. Just for my own edification. Okay. Gasthaus von Thorin's Hall. Great. So in the German version of this, we would want to say we're highlighting a location, Gasthaus von Thorin's Hall. And the quest, a bit of white, would then be a bit of white. And find a place. Yeah, okay. That's fair. And then we're highlighting the name of the NPC, Ale Association Tavern Keep, which isn't listed in the data files. So I'd have to actually walk up to that NPC in Gasthaus von Thorin's Hall and say, hey, what's your name? And put that in there. I think my throat is acting up from all this talking. So, Tilirain, I'm wondering if this answers your question. These four or these meta functions. So turn into. If we look at turn into, quite a pickle mugwort. What we need to do is we need this string turn in x to y. we need to look that up in a table. That needs to have versions for English, French, German, whatever. And in this case, we are turning in a quest to an NPC. So in the Thorns Hall version, oh no. So we're looking for whatever, this would be, pretend local format string equals, and then we would have an English version if it was in English, or the equivalent German in there. And the key thing would be that we'd still be turning in a quest to a NPC. And then back in here, the turn into, this is just turning in quite a pickle or a reminder of Rivendell or whatever to the NPC. And this is just a shortcut because there's so many of these that are saying, the only thing we're saying is turn in this quest to this person, to this NPC. So it's just a shortcut way of saying this is what it is. And you could do that for a lot of these more common things. Like, take this quest, take this quest, take this quest. That could be its own meta function, its own highlighting function, pick up quest. But, had to figure out where I was drawing the line, so that's it. So in this case, turn into and that was a reminder of Rivendell. Cool. So a reminder of Rivendell, this would be, let's see. And on Bruchtal. All right. And then Lindasil? Yes, okay. NPC name is Lindasil. Looks like it's still Lindasil, yeah? Okay. So in German, that would be turn into, and that's a memory of Rivendell to the NPC Lindasil. And then the one other thing we need is we need these format strings in the quick guides that are currently just English, which is travel to this location, turn in this quest to this NPC, turn in quest to NPC, have a request for continuing a quest with an action. So that's going to look like, let's see, do we have it in here? Highlight quest. Oh. Okay. I see. Perfect. Okay. Clearin has recommended for what we were just talking about. Turn into. Format string de equals. So give this quest name. Oops. And in that case, it would just still be a %s by %s ob. And then we would just key off of, are we using the English one or the German one? Local format string English, just as an example. And then based off which one we're using, but let's assume it's English one right now. It's the same stuff, a quest that is highlighted or not, an NPC that is highlighted or not, getting placed into the strings like this. The only complication would be if the word order was different enough where you had to have the NPC first and the quest later, and that would cause more complications. But right now, because the quest names and the NPC are happening in the same order, we're able to just swap in the words that are saying turn this quest to this NPC, but keep the placeholders in place. There are some patterns that let you specify numbering, like the first one, the second one, the third one. I don't recall off the top of my head if Lua lets you do that, but if not, there are other solutions. So to learn, hopefully that makes some sort of sense of what's going on under the covers. Once we have these strings here, and once the names of the quests of the NPCs and whatnot are updated here, and the tricky part is, are these new quest strings, completed quest strings, objective strings, because these have to match exactly with what it is going to show up in the chat box, in the quest chat channel, because that's how the Festival Buddy system knows that you accomplished the task. And so we can find those in the LOTRO companion data files, so don't feel like you have to do those specifically, but you're welcome to, of course. But where I could really use your help as a native speaker is making these sound good. These texts here, travel to this location, turn in this quest to this NPC, turn in this quest to this NPC. All of these, hopefully pretty straightforward strings, just need to be translated so that we have 20 different things that say turn in this quest to this NPC. Cool. They will all sound good because they're all just that same pattern. Yeah, that might be tricky for you. Absolutely. For that part specifically, I can toss things at a tool like Google Translate, and I can vary them up enough where I'm convinced that the grammar is probably right. But there's things like, what word are we going to use for quest? If I had to say, I have a quest for you, is Aufgabe the right word to use for a LOTRO quest, or has Google just chosen a word that could mean quest, but it would sound very silly in the context of LOTRO? And some of those you can answer by looking at data files, but yeah, it's helpful to have a native speaker looking at that. But if you're looking just for grammatical stuff outside of that, not necessarily vocabulary, but you're like, okay, in German, ich habe eine Aufgabe für dich. Okay, what if it's an apple? Okay, everything's the same except for Apfel. Cool. What if it's a box? Okay, everything's still the same. So you can use a tool like Google Translate to get a sense of, Google Translate thinks this is a formulaic way to say, I have X for you, where you just swap out the noun. Okay, I feel a little bit better about doing that, and then I just have to figure out what the right word is here. Or maybe this is the %s thing that we're doing. Cool. We could do that kind of a string substitution and come up with something reasonably grammatical if that was what we were doing. So that's where I will use a tool like Google Translate, but I try not to just take the first thing that I do. I try to build up a cohesive idea of, are there rules that it seems to be following that I can make use of? And sometimes that's easier with German for me than French, because at least it's closer to Dutch than anything else that I know, and I can see some similarities there. But anything that can be found in a data file, names of quests, names of quest items, possibly names of NPCs, those are very easy for me to just copy paste from the data files, and then I know it's right because it's as right as the game is. So. Well, I have been talking for almost 2 hours, and my throat is telling me I should probably stop doing that. So I'm going to continue on with this. Maybe not so much tonight, but over the course of the next couple of days, and definitely have those two specific things that we've been looking at today. pulling over what is the time offset functionality that's baked into reminders. Probably not with all of the fanciness that Thurlore had, but functional. Um, Pulling that in so that we can set that in Festival Buddy so that the start time of the wheat maze is correctly calculated with the time zone offset, and incorporating some of the translations here for the In-League Ale Association, the slash LOC parsing. That's something I have been a little weak on, but I've got a note here. Thank you to Lyrian. So that's what I'm going to be doing in the background. I hope everyone out there has a very lovely Harvestmath in game. I guess I can pull up the game here so we can actually see that happening in the background. I hope everyone has a very lovely Harvestmath. And yeah, so next week we'll probably do some more Festival Buddy stuff just to show off what I've done in the meantime and poke at anything else that needs to be done. If I haven't released an update by then, we'll hopefully do a release so that Festival Buddy 2 is available for the rest of the festival. Yeah, I think that's all I was going to talk about today. So, let's see. Did I have any other note here? That was it. Awesome. Well, that's all we're going to cover today. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. Oh, Tyrion, I see a thing. Oh, excellent question. Tyrion asks about the quick guide quest objective strings. Yeah, I can extract those from the data files one to one, so you do not need to get those. You're welcome to get them, but you do not need to. I can get those quite easily. Awesome. Thanks for throwing that in there. Yeah, and thank you all for being here. And yep, assuming my voice is back, I'll hope to see you all here next week. And until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.